Hey guys, getting ready to head up to public land that we hunt pretty regularly. We're going to do a video here on the 10 tips for summer scouting, specifically regarding trail cameras and setting them up. My first tip is check your cameras. Check your SD cards, make sure you have full batteries, make sure the SD cards are empty, clean the lens, clean the sensor, and just run your hand by it to test it to make sure it's taking pictures. The last thing you want to do is leave a camera out in a remote area for 2 or 3 weeks, pick it up and realize that it's not taking pictures or the dates and times are wrong and that the information is less useful than it would have been. Tip number 2, to steal a quote from my father-in-law, I'm sure you're all familiar with the term, less is more. For trail camera surveys and studies, more is more. The more cameras you have out, the more opportunities you have to potentially get a good buck on camera. So don't skimp. So that's my second tip. More is more. Get as many cameras out as you can. We are running between 15 and 20 this year between 3 guys. Hey you. Hey bear. Bonus tip, have your camera out and ready to go in case you see wildlife on the way in. That was a really good sized bear. Tip number 3 is place your camera in summer areas. You're looking for edges of fields, close to sources of water, bedding areas, areas where there's going to be good forage. Unlike in the fall or winter time when you're going to be trying to get set up in areas where there's acorns or more rut travel corridors through pinch points and saddles. Bonus tip. Wear protection, especially in places where there's a lot of rattlesnakes. Me to tip number 4, set your trail camera up like you would set a tree stand up. You're looking for intersections, travel corridors, heavy trails. You want to see deer sign. This is an area that I was shed hunting, found a shed up on the top. That's where you want your camera, where there's hot sign, where the deer are using, not just in random places where you hope to find deer. So tip number 5, when you set your trail camera up, we have east to west, so we don't want our camera facing in those directions, because what's going to happen if we're facing east to west is as the sun comes over, shadows or the sun's going to shine into the camera, you can trigger the camera. So we're going to be setting it up kind of facing north. We can do east to west as long as we're looking north. You may still have some issues with shadows, but it's going to be a lot better than setting it up facing into the sun. Tip number 6, camouflage your trail camera. So I just kind of put leaves and a few of these laurel branches on here on the side underneath the straps to hold it tight. Then on this side, just for some extra camouflage, again the same thing. You want to make sure though that your camouflage is not going to cover your sensors. So I'm going to adjust just a little bit, or your camera lens. Number 7, this time of year in July and August and September is not where they're going to be during hunting season. What you'll notice is a lot of times your good high producing trail cameras in the summer will fall off a cliff as soon as the acorns stop dropping. So we're strictly using this data to take an inventory of the deer in the area. We're not using it to pattern. I mean, sometimes we'll try to figure out, okay, in general, we think they're bedding over here. They're coming down through and eating over here. But as soon as the acorns start dropping, as soon as the rut picks up, those pattern pictures are, for the most part, completely useless. So tip number 8, and this is the hardest one, is check your cameras infrequently. Unless you're hunting private ground and you can take a wheeler up to it and maybe pull a card out without putting your scent down, you want to avoid putting your scent down around the camera. It's going to take probably, in our experience, 4, 5, sometimes even a week for the deer to start using that area again as they would have before. So if you go and check it every week, you're constantly putting your scent down and training the deer to avoid that area by putting pressure on them. One more camera to set up for today, got 2 out. Tip number 9, when you do check your trail cameras, especially if you're going to pull and leave it there, what we like to do is check the pictures in field. So either A, you're going to bring a laptop or a card reader. The reason being, especially if you're going far back in, like we're setting our cameras up, you don't want to walk a mile and a half in, pull the camera, get all the way back to your house, check the pictures, and see all you have is a bunch of does and fawns. And then that camera's, you got to go back and pick it up. So if you're going to leave the camera there, take a reader or a laptop, check the pictures. If it's producing, you'll feel good about it, leave the camera there. If it's not producing, pull the camera, move it somewhere else. My 10th and final tip is to log everything. When you're running numerous trail cameras, it can be tough to remember where you put them out. So we're using Onyx or your phone GPS. We're marking them, logging them. When we go to pick the trail camera up, we always walk in front of the camera just to make sure that the camera's still working. It takes your picture. And then we'll create folders on my laptop, and I'll name each folder location, and then I'll drop all the pictures of the bucks that we want to keep. I'll pick them up, log them, drop them in that folder. For example, the tombstone. Put a camera on the tombstone, we pull all the pictures, put them in that folder, and then from year to year, we've actually had circumstances where we've seen the same buck and we're able to tell it's the same deer growing just because it was in the same location, and then there's some characteristics of the deer that we could identify. So that's my 10th and final tip. Log everything, log the pictures, locations. So in a couple weeks here, maybe the end of July, early August, we'll start pulling cameras. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Like the video, comment, share. If there's anything I missed, any tips that you feel have really helped you, leave a comment, let me know what they are. And stay tuned for the results here probably in a month or so.